Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sandra Toman from the Pathology Diversity Committee, and we welcome you to the presentation, this winter's presentation, in the history and culture of the Philippines. Today, if everybody is signing in, we don't have the swiper, so you just have to put your jet in. And we have treats, cookies and water by Pathology. All the other treats are by Ruth and all her friends, so please enjoy. And our speaker today, Ruth Umali, she grew up in the Philippines, moved to the US when she was 23. She's been here at Hopkins, been working at Hopkins for 4 years, most currently in the transfusion medicine department. Ruth? Welcome, Ruth. So you good?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry we're a little bit late. It's what we call Filipino time. I see that there are some people getting food. Any one of you would like to get up and try to get some before we start? No? Let them be? Okay. Just a disclaimer summary. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the author and do not necessarily represent official position of Johns Hopkins or the entire Filipino community. Copyright Act of 1976 allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair warning, please be aware that my true Filipino colors might come out at any time during this presentation. It's my little friend. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, I would like to thank all the Filipinos for preparing the food that we have today, Pathology as well, and special thanks to my husband, John. He's working very hard and he gave life to my presentation. I am wearing a modernized Barot Saya, and he will be wearing a Barong Tagalog. These are the national costumes of the Philippines. I am also wearing pearls, a set of pearls, and this is the national gem of the Philippines. The objective of this presentation is to learn how the unique history of the Philippines influenced the culture and values that envelopes the distinct Filipino way of life, regardless of their location. Philippines at a glance. The Philippines is an archipelago, which means a group of islands comprised of 7,107 islands, usually depending if it's high tide or low tide. Our capital is Manila, and the Philippines has two major languages, Filipino and English. Our currency is the Philippine peso. I have a little board right there. It shows our colorful money, and I also put in the dollar equivalent and what you can afford in the Philippines right now. The government is a unitary state presidential, representative, and democratic republic. Current population of the Philippines is about 107 million, and 10 million Filipinos live abroad. By the way, my husband John is here. He is wearing the Barong Tagalog. Now, where in the world is the Philippines? Does anybody know? Aside from the Filipinos. The Philippines is located in Southeast Asia, on the western side of the Pacific Ocean. Based on experience, it takes about 20 to 24 hours to fly from BWI to Manila. That includes about 2 stops, maybe 1 to 2 hours each. The prices range from $600 to $1,500 per person, round trip. These are the 2 main reasons why it is beneficial for us to take a longer vacation. To understand more why the Filipino culture is a mixture of both the East and the West, we will breeze through the pre-colonial and the colonial history of the Philippines. One of the theories on where the inhabitants came from is the migration theory. It is by social scientist Henry Otley Beyer. He believes that the Filipinos descended from different groups that came from Southeast Asia in successive waves of migration, bringing with them their own customs and traditions. The first migrants were the cavemen, who resembled the Java men, came by way of land bridges connecting the Philippines and Indonesia. They lived by hunting and fishing, and left the Philippines due to their migratory nature. The second group are the Aitas, who crossed the land bridges as well. They are short in stature, dark-skinned, and are good in hunting, fishing, and food gathering. Due to the thinning of ice glaciers and subsequent rise of water levels, the land bridges disappeared and the Aitas remained in our country. The Indonesians came by boat and are skilled in seafaring. And the last group are the Malays, who also traveled by boat. They introduced the irrigation system in rice planting. Now, these natives have been trading with the Chinese between the 10th and 16th centuries for porcelain and silk in exchange for beeswax, deer horn, and sea slug. During the 1300s, the Arabs traded and settled in Mindanao, the southern part of the country, influencing and converting indigenous people into Muslims. Now, this art perfectly depicts the arrival of the Spanish soldiers and priests in the Philippines, bringing Roman Catholicism to the native people. The Spanish period began in 1521 when Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan visited the island of Cebu in search of spice, gold, and glory. He landed on the island of Cebu. His expedition from Europe to the Philippines proved that the earth was much larger than previously thought and that it was not flat. In 1542, Spanish explorer Ruy Lopez de Villalobos named the country Las Islas Filipinas after King Philip II of Spain, or in English, the islands of the Philippines. Some of the Spanish influences are on language, money, Roman Catholic faith, and Catholic-run schools, names and last names, food and eating with spoons, forks, cups, and plates. As shown on this 5-peso bill, General Emilio Aguinaldo declared the Philippine independence from Spain on June 12, 1898, and waved the Philippine flag. This is the Philippine national flag. Blue stands for peace, truth, and justice. White for unity and freedom, and red for patriotism and valor. The stars stand for the 3 major islands of the Philippines: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The 8 primary rays of the sun represents the first 8 provinces to declare war when the revolt was first initiated. It is the only flag in the world that is flown upside down, the red being on top when the country is at war. Next, we move on to the American period. This art shows the Battle of Kingwa, now Plaridel, Bulacan, dated April 23, 1899, during the Philippine-American War. A few months after the Spanish-American War, on December 10 of the same year, the Treaty of Paris was signed, and Spain ceded Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines to the United States. The U.S. paid $20 million to acquire the Philippines from Spain. In 1899, with the Philippines becoming a new U.S. territory, Filipinos migrated to the U.S. to study or work primarily in California or Hawaii, the closest states to the Philippines, fueled by stories of wealth and hope for a better life. After World War II, Filipinos came to the U.S. as war brides of U.S. servicemen, or as armed forces recruits, or to train as U.S. healthcare workers. Major influences of the American people are democracy, religious freedom, free public education, food, sports, movies, and theaters. Ben Steele, an American soldier and a Bataan Death March survivor, kept his sanity during 42 months of confinement through art. This is one of his arts. In 1941, Japanese troops invaded the Philippines for 4 years. Many war crimes were committed during this time, such as the Bataan Death March. An estimated 80,000 Filipino and American prisoners of war were forced to march 65 miles from Mariveles, Bataan, and 54,000 of them were able to reach Camp O'Donnell in Tarlac. Filipino nurses and doctors cared for the Filipino and American soldiers in Bataan. This is the MacArthur Leyte Landing Memorial Park. General Douglas MacArthur is an American 5-star general of the U.S. Army. He is designated as the Field Marshal of the Philippines and is the one who liberated the Philippines from the Japanese. His famous words are, "I came through and I shall return." This is what is taught in our schools.
We're on the beach and resting when a single landing craft appears. And sure enough, it's General MacArthur, who is returning to Leyte as he has promised.
After fighting off a group of Japanese sharpshooters on Leyte, First Sergeant Jack Werner is back on the secured beach, just in time to see General MacArthur land with the American Liberation Forces.
Doc sunglasses, pressed pants. Some of the soldiers are snickering. I can't believe it. Some of these soldiers have no respect. The general just strolls onto the beach and walks into the jungle. And that is the last I see of him.
People of the Philippines, I have returned. By the grace of Almighty God, our forces stand again on Philippine soil, soil consecrated in the blood of our two people. We have come dedicated and committed to the task of destroying every vestige of enemy control over your people. The hour of your redemption is here.
He has been taught in our schools for our history class, and we know his famous words, "I shall return."
Landing craft appears.
Now, we move on to the Filipino language. We have borrowed language from the Spanish and the English languages. and I have a few examples here. Kamusta, or in Spanish, como esta, is how are you in English. Dios, or Dios, in Spanish, and God in English. Zapatos, or zapatos, in Spanish, shoes in English. And we call our grandparents lolo, or lola, which is derived from the Spanish words abuelo and abuela. Spanish numerals are also commonly used in marketplaces and to tell time. Spanish first and last names are common, as well as biblical names. Some examples of Filipino words borrowed from the English language. You may notice that the spelling is different, but it's pronounced almost the same. Cake, still cake. Ballpen is ballpen. Boxing is boxing. Biscuit is biscuit. Police for police. Today, most Filipinos mix in a few English words into our language, and we call this Taglish. Tag meaning Tagalog, and Glish for English. Tagalog is the basis for the Filipino language. An example of this is, okay ka lang ba? In English, are you okay? Now, the Philippines is the 5th largest English-speaking country, 5th, with 64 million people able to converse in English. But being a bilingual is actually hard. Having to switch languages in less than a second, speaking the other language unintentionally to a different race, and knowing the right word in the other language may cause some delay in our response. So please pardon us. Our struggle is real. Here are a few sentences that can be useful. How are you is kamusta ka? Let's eat is kain na. And thank you is salamat. Now, let's move on to the geography of the Philippines. Again, the Philippines is an archipelago with a mountainous terrain and narrow to extensive coastal lowlands. The total land area is 115,831 square miles, including inland bodies of water. Total coastline is 22,549 miles, the 5th longest. It is actually 82% longer than the US coastline. The US coastline is 12,380 miles, the 9th longest in the world. Again, the land area is around 115,000 square miles. Our population is 107 million. Population density is about 939 people per square mile. In comparison, Arizona has 113,000 square miles, but the population is about 100 million people less. It has 45.2 population density. The climate of the Philippines. The Philippines has a tropical and maritime climate characterized by high temperatures and relatively high humidity, with an abundance of rainfall. Summer months are from March to May. Rainy season begins in June and can last until November. As the weather cools down, Filipinos feel like Christmas is coming. The Philippines is located on the western ridge of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is why it experiences frequent seismic and volcanic activities. Mountains are covered in tropical rainforest and are volcanic in origin. The Philippines is the world's 2nd largest geothermal producer in the world, behind the US. with 18% of the country's electrical needs being met by geothermal power. There are currently 53 active volcanoes in the country. The most active is the Mayon volcano. It is beautifully symmetrical and is known for its perfect conical shape. It has erupted 47 times since 1616. Its most destructive eruption happened on February 1, 1814, with more than 1,200 casualties. The priest of the Cagsawa Church ordered to ring the bells to warn the local people. Some took refuge in the church, but were surrounded and covered with lava. About 200 people were inside. Now, only the church tower remains. Believe it or not, this is the crater of Mount Pinatubo. It is currently a very popular spot for trekking, camping, relaxing at the hot springs, volcanic mud spas, and more. Its major eruption occurred on January 15, 1991. 200,000 people were evacuated, and 20,000 indigenous Aita Highlanders who were living on its slopes were completely displaced. This is the second largest eruption in the 20th century. This eruption released 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide that led to a temporary decrease in the Earth's temperature by 1 degree Fahrenheit from 1991 to 1993. This photo was captured by a journalist trying to evacuate. According to the journalist, the angle from which the photo was taken makes it seem like the van was getting engulfed by the storm of ash from the volcanic eruption. But that's just the angle. They're fine. Bohol. This is one of the most attractive destinations in the Philippines. It is known for the chocolate hills, and as per Steve Lunt of The Telegraph, this region's 1,200 or so chocolate hills are a bit like giant Maltesers, melted across a huge tray, pleasantly unusual to behold rather than stunning. These unique mounds of limestone vary in height, up to nearly 400 feet. This is the Philippine tarsier. It is a species of tarsier endemic to the Philippines and measures only about 3 to 6 inches in height. The average adult is about the size of an adult human fist. Bohol is also famous for its white sand beaches, crystal blue waters, and world-famous dive sites. There are about 1,400 caves discovered throughout the island. The one in this picture is called the Hinagdanan Cave. Boracay. By the way, WOW in WOW Philippines can stand for wild over water. Boracay is the most popular tourist destination in the country and is one of the top beaches in the world. It is known for its pristine white sand beach and water activities such as scuba diving, and island hopping. Another popular tourist destination is Coron. Coron is a cluster of islands in Palawan. Preset day tours are priced from $13 to $24, including lunch. Activities include swimming into hidden lagoons, shipwreck diving, snorkeling, relaxing in the warm Makinit Springs, and hiking. Siargao. This is known as the surfing capital of the Philippines. The beaches are not overcrowded because guests are limited to how many people the resorts can hold. Some resorts are owned by foreigners who have decided to leave their country and stay in the island permanently. It's because the rock pools are truly captivating and must be visited during the low tide. Island hopping will take you to the Ku Island for $40 per person with lunch, and it includes freshly caught seafood that is grilled, plus coconuts and mangoes. Another stop is the Naked Island. Naked because it does not have any trees. It can also disappear during high tide, according to the fishermen. By the way, Philippines is one of the world's largest producer of coconut. So whenever you're at the beach, you're gonna get a coconut. Now, when we visited Siargao, of course we were able to ride the iconic modes of transportation in our country, and I have miniatures of it. Tricycles. This is the most popular means of transport in small towns, especially in the rural areas, made locally by building a sidecar and affixing it into an imported tricycle. Pedicabs are human-powered tricycles designed to carry people and goods in short distances along smaller and more residential streets. This picture shows a brand new jeepney being blessed by a priest at a tradition common to the Filipinos. The jeep is known as the king of the road. It was originally made from US military wheelie jeeps that were left behind when the Americans left the Philippines at the end of World War II. The jeepney is the cheapest and most popular means of public transportation. It is known for crowded seating, as it can fit around 10 to 20 people inside, and it is a symbol of Philippine art and culture as shown in its flamboyant decorations. However, if you're in the city, trains, buses, cabs, and vans are more commonly used. This is an everyday scene in EDSA, short for Epifanio de los Santos Avenue. It is the main highway in Metro Manila, stretching only 14.8 miles long. It is the longest and most congested highway in the metropolis, as it can take you 2 to 4 hours to travel from end to end, especially during the rush hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. The Metro Rail Transit is the faster way to travel, but it can get overcrowded and filled during peak hours. Heavy traffic is, of course, due to Metro Manila's population. This is a picture of Metro Manila. It has a land area of 239.2 square miles with a population of 12.9 million people. Population density is at 54,000 per square mile. Its population is equivalent to the top 2 largest US cities by population, New York City and Los Angeles combined. Our next topic is a Filipino culture. The Filipino is a unique blend of the East and West. Influences come from the Malays, the Chinese, the Spanish, and the Americans. Sports. This plays a very big part in our lives as generations of families and friends gather to watch sports. Basketball is one of the most popular sports in the Philippines, which is influenced by the Americans. Basketball courts can be found in almost every village, no matter how poor or how remote the area is. Amateur games occur every summer in neighborhoods everywhere in the country. And the Philippines won the bronze medal in the 1954 FIBA World Championship and 5th place in 1936 Summer Olympics. It also has the most wins in the Olympics outside of the Americas, Europe, and Oceania. The Philippine Basketball Association, or PBA, is a men's professional basketball league who welcomes imports or basketball players from abroad, mostly from here. Boxing. Filipinos also love boxing, and a big reason is Manny Pacman Pacquiao. He is the only 8-division world champion in the world, and because of him, crime rates near 0% and traffic is usually very light when he has a fight. Everyone is inside their houses watching. Filipinos from all over the world gather with family and friends to watch his fights on pay-per-view, which generated a total of $1.2 billion in revenue from his 24 bouts. He is currently serving as a Philippine senator since 2016 and has been promoting health and sports among the Filipinos. Another event that can cause low crime rates and light traffic is the Miss Universe pageant. Filipinos are obsessed with beauty pageants, and Catriona Gray of the Philippines won last December 2018. She is the 4th representative from our country to win this title. The next video shows how the life stops in the Philippines. You will observe that people at work, school, and even the celebrities pause to watch the announcement of the winner. It's as if she's part of their own family.
Only one of you is about to become our new Miss Universe. If for any reason the winner is unable to fulfill her duties, the first runner-up will take her place. Good luck to you both. The new
Okay. I have to admit, I did that too at home. Now we move to an even bigger part of the Filipino culture. It is our religion. Christianity was first introduced by the Spaniards when they first came to the Philippines, and today around 80,000 Filipinos are Roman Catholic. And since the Philippines is predominantly Catholic, divorce is still illegal. The other country that has illegal that divorce is illegal in is Vatican City. Only annulment of marriage is allowed. Filipinos also celebrate many Catholic holidays and festivals, and it is common to see pictures of the Last Supper and images of the Sacred Heart of Mary and Jesus inside our homes. We also hang rosaries on the rear view mirror of our cars as a reminder to pray before driving. So if you see cars with those, big possibility that they are Filipino. Evangelical Protestantism was introduced by the American missionaries in the early 19th century and makes up about 2.4% of the population. 6% of the population are Muslims. Islam was introduced back in the 1300s by the Arab Muslims, and it is now limited to the southern part of the country. A more solemn Catholic tradition is the Holy Week. Since there is an abundance of palm trees in our country, palms are decorated and then sold outside the church on Palm Sunday. Holy Thursday is celebrated with a Mass and the washing of the feet as done by Jesus to his 12 apostles during a Mass. On Good Fridays, processions and reenactments of the suffering and crucifixion of Jesus Christ are held all over the country. Penitents willingly undergo the same extreme physical pain as a form of atonement. And on Easter Sunday, people wake up early for the salubong, or pre-dawn meeting of the two processed images of the risen Christ and the still mourning Mary. Processions then proceed to the church for the Easter Sunday Mass. Another solemn celebration is the Eid al-Fitr. This is the celebration of Ramadan. This is the celebration of the last day of Ramadan. It is recognized by the Philippine government as a regular holiday. The only majority Christian country worldwide to have done so. The law is enacted in deference to the Filipino Muslim community and to promote peace and harmony among major religions in our country. We also have fiestas, or festivals in English, which are very much lively and colorful. The Ati-Atihan Festival is a feast held annually on the third Sunday of January in honor of Santo Niño in Kalibo, Aklan. Now, Ati-Atihan it originated from when the Aitas welcomed the Malays into their islands. The Malays smeared themselves with soot as a way to show appreciation and kindness kindness of the Aitas. When the Spaniards came and converted the natives, the Santo Niño was incorporated into the festival. The Aitas are part of our indigenous people. There are an estimated 14 to 17 million indigenous people that belong to more than 100 tribal groups in our country. Igorots, or the Highland people, their ancestors are the ones who carved the rice terraces into the mountains of Ifugao with minimal equipment and largely by hand. It is believed to be 2,000 years old. The Aitas and Bajaos are also examples of our indigenous people. And these are my kids in their Igorot costumes. Now, another festival held in January in honor of Santo Niño is Sinulog. Santo Niño is the patron of Cebu. It is one of the grandest and most colorful festivals in the country. Now, Halloween is celebrated differently in our country. We celebrate it through candles, flowers, prayers, and a day or night at the cemetery. On the last week of October, people travel back to their hometowns to clean up the graves of their loved ones. On October 31st, families prepare food, chairs, mats, canopies, and start gathering at the grave of their deceased loved ones to offer prayers. This is how the cemetery looks like on a typical day. Come All Saints Day or Undas, cemeteries are filled with fresh flowers, candles, canopies, and people. It is like a mini family reunion with food and music, and most families stay overnight. Christmas. Filipinos love Christmas. We love it so much that we start the countdown on September 1st, and it spans from September to December, known as the Burr months. Christmas carols are heard playing at the malls during these Burr months. Christmas lanterns, or parol, are on display at almost every house. Parol used to guide the farmers to the church to attend the dawn masses known as the Simbang Gabi, a 9-day series of masses which starts on December 16 and ends on December 24. Christmas season usually ends on the Feast of the Three Kings in January. Christmas equals food. After hearing the dawn masses, vendors selling puro bongbong and bibingka are waiting outside the church. Filipinos could not say no to the sight and smell of these food. Noche Buena, which literally means good night, is also Spanish for Christmas Eve. It is a traditional custom in Spain, Latin America, and the Philippines. In our country, after the midnight mass on the 24th, the family gathers around midnight to feast on lechon, pancit, lumpia, spaghetti, desserts, and more. Christmas Day is celebrated by spending the whole day with relatives, exchanging gifts, giving money to the younger ones, playing parlor games, and having festive food. The next celebration would, of course, be the New Year. This is how most Filipinos remember New Year's Eve in the Philippines. We step out of our house, look up in the sky, fireworks everywhere. This can last for about an hour. We have bizarre New Year traditions, which symbolizes prosperity and good fortune for the year to come. We need to have round fruits on the dining table. We need to scatter coins around the house, and we need to wear red or polka dots. We need to jump high at midnight to grow taller, and we need to shake our pockets full of coins while jumping up and down. Loud noise like fireworks, firecrackers, and hornpipes drive away evil spirits. And after the fireworks are done, we gather for another lavish midnight feast called the Medianoche. Speaking of a lavish midnight feast, let's talk about Filipino food. Unlike most Asians, Filipinos do not regularly eat with chopsticks. We use spoon and fork. This is because rice is the staple food of the Philippines and is eaten at almost every meal. Since Filipino cuisine includes a lot of stews or are cooked in broth, spoon and fork is seen at the Filipino dining table instead of knife and fork. Filipinos can also be seen eating with bare hands, especially if the main dish is grilled or fried, or if it's seafood. This is called kamayan, with kamay meaning hand. Typical light breakfast for Filipinos would consist of coffee and bread, or in Filipino, kape at pandesal. Pandesal is freshly bought from a nearby walking distance bakery and is sold early in the morning. It is light and fluffy and can be eaten with fillings such as butter, eggs, peanut butter, etc. Most Filipinos, like me, dip pandesal in hot coffee, which melts the pandesal, making it more tasteful. Taho, or silken tofu with tapioca pearls and brown sugar syrup, is sold by vendors walking or biking within the neighborhoods. So, once we hear them shout, "Taho!" we quickly search for money and run outside. And we call him back by shouting, "Taho!" And he'll turn around and sell us some. It's kind of like the ice cream truck here. Now, if you see us eating a sandwich for breakfast, I think that's considered more like a snack. Because this is what a typical breakfast looks like in our country. The whole house would smell like garlic and fish or meat, and I would wake up feeling hungry. Breakfast will include one or more of the following: fried fish, hot dogs, longanisa, tocino, or tapa. It is always served with fried eggs, garlic rice, tomatoes, and vinegar. Coffee completes this kind of meal. Some popular Filipino dishes are adobo. It is often chicken or pork and cooked in vinegar, soy sauce, salt, garlic, and pepper. It can be preserved without refrigeration. And sinigang, a stew of fish or prawns or pork or beef, soured by tamarind or calamansi or kamyas. It is often accompanied by green leafy vegetables, string beans, and taro. Being an archipelago with a tropical climate comes with an abundance of seafood. Fish can either be grilled, deep fried, or cooked with soup. Crabs and shrimp are usually cooked in their own juice or with coconut milk. Shrimp is cooked with its head on, using a little water and salt. or with lemon soda, such as Sprite or 7-Up. Grilled squid is stuffed with tomatoes and onions, marinated and then grilled. It can be dipped into soy sauce with onions. So yes, we eat rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But then we thought, why not add sugar or chocolate? We turned rice into snacks. Puto and cochinta are sweet steamed rice cakes. Biko is another sweet rice cake made of coconut milk, brown sugar, and glutinous rice, topped with caramelized coconut milk. Suman can be served with sugar, coconut, caramel sauce, and grated coconut. Champorado is a sweet chocolate rice porridge topped with milk and sugar to make it sweeter. Goto, it's not sweet. It's a Filipino-style congee that is cooked and has tripe, hard-boiled eggs, and garnished with toasted garlic and scallions. Even if we have 3 big meals with rice during the day, and we kind of played with rice already, we still wanted to be more adventurous. And we have street food. As the vendors would have their own stalls out on the streets or would be walking around like the taho guy. Fish balls, squid ball, and kikiam are freshly deep fried by vendors on their carts and then skewered. Kwek-kwek are quailed eggs coated in orange batter, then deep fried and then dipped into a sweet or sour sauce before eating. Banana Q, taken from the word barbecue, are made by taking bananas and deep frying them into brown sugar. Turon is made by enclosing slices of banana and jackfruit in egg roll wrappers, then deep fried with brown sugar. Dirty ice cream. Not dirty, it's just called dirty because it's sold in the streets. It's Filipino ice cream sold in colorful carts. We have flavors such as purple yam, cheese, mango, and of course chocolate. It can be served on a cone or in a burger bun. It is actually really good. Balut. As feared in Fear Factor or Bizarre Foods, it is a hard-boiled, fertilized duck egg. We sprinkle it with salt or vinegar and eaten from the shell. My favorite, desserts. The most popular Filipino dessert is the halo-halo. Halo means mix. It's a mixture of nata de coco, sweetened beans, carioca pearls, jelly, you name it. It has crushed ice, filled with evaporated milk and topped with leche flan and ube ice cream. The Filipino-style mocha cake is very light and fluffy. Frosting is sweet and buttery with a taste of chocolate and coffee flavor. Buko pandan is another Filipino favorite made with young coconut, gelatin, tapioca pearls, pandan, cream, and of course, condensed milk. Leche flan is a heavier version of the Spanish dish. This is the staple in Filipino parties. We actually have leche flan here. What is the Philippine fruit? It's mango. We love mango so much. Carabao mango is our Philippine national fruit. It is considered as the most delicious and tastiest fruit in the world. Carabao mango is declared as a 1995 Guinness Book of World Records the sweetest mango. Mango season is from March to June, which are the summer months in the Philippines. I ate mango every day when I went home last year. And since we love mangoes so much and would like to have them year-round, mangoes were processed into several products like dried mangoes, mango jam, mango juice, mango ice cream, mango float. We have mango float here. We make it into a mango milkshake. You should try that. Jollibee. Jollibee is like the McDonald's in our country. It has over 750 stores nationwide and 80 stores internationally. 26 are here in the US, and the closest one to us are in New York and in Virginia Beach. This fast food restaurant started as an ice cream parlor in 1975, and it is influenced with American items. Though it is focused on the specific Filipino taste, it has a sweet-style spaghetti, a light and crispy chicken joy served with rice, and of course, our version of the apple pie, peach mango pie. The main mascot is Jollibee, who will be present and will dance at the kiddie parties celebrated in their restaurants. Now let's talk about our values. Family is the core of the Filipino values. It includes extended and intergenerational relations. This culture is said to have been inherited from the Chinese. We usually live with relatives either under one household or within the same village or compound. It is very hard for parents to let their children go. And even if they have their own families, they are still allowed to live in the same house. We take care of our aging parents and grandparents, and houses are usually passed on to the next generation. Hospitality is a common denominator in the Filipino character, and this is what distinguishes the Filipino. In the Philippines, Filipinos would go out of way to help tourists who are lost or would welcome guests even in their poverty-stricken home. We treat our guests like our own family members, offer food and a place to sleep if necessary. Filipino gatherings abroad will give you the feeling of warmth and belongingness as we make sure that guests are comfortable and their stomachs are full. Polite and respectful to the elderly. Filipinos are raised to be polite and respectful to the elderly because we grew up with them. Manu po is similar to hand kissing, a way of requesting blessings from the elderly. Po and opo are distinct to the Filipino culture. Po has no equivalent in the English language. It is usually added at the end of a sentence as a sign of respect. Example is, salamat po. Salamat means thank you. So if we say it to an older person, we say salamat po. We also use ate and kuya to call our older siblings. Ate for our sister and kuya for our brother. The use of ma'am and sir is very common in the Philippines. Usually the guests in a restaurant or in a hotel, once you come in, they will say, good morning, ma'am, good morning, sir. It is very hard for us when we moved here to the US, because we call our superiors or anyone above our pay grade ma'am or sir. But here in the US, we have to adapt to the American culture of using first names. Bayanihan. It is a spirit of kinship and camaraderie, and a traditional system of working together to achieve a common goal. Its meaning is its example is helping a family move by literally carrying their house on their backs. The house here is a traditional Filipino dwelling place. Another example of bayanihan is this presentation today. Once I told the Filipinos about this presentation, they asked and offered to bring food to share with everyone. And this is for free. Filipinos are diligent and industrious. Filipinos are known to be hard workers as they desire to raise one standard of living. We are determined to provide the best for our families, especially when it comes to our children's education. Filipino professionals are also in demand abroad or are often hired to work abroad. These Filipinos send back remittances to their families. According to the World Bank data, Filipinos living abroad sent a total of $33 billion in remittances to the Philippines in 2017. Most of this money is spent for food, clothing, education, medical expenses, and savings. This helps our country's economy and is accounted for 19% of the country's GDP, according to the Central Bank of the Philippines. Cheerful and lighthearted. According to a 2017 survey by Gallup International, the Filipinos are generally optimistic, believing that situations can always improve. and is the third happiest country in the world. Filipinos are always smiling and are ready to take pictures. According to Time magazine in 2014, Makati is one of the cities in Metro Manila. It is the selfie capital of the world. We always find reason to celebrate through our festivals, birthdays, anniversaries, a new job or a job promotion, anything to make us eat together. We do that. Now, here in the US, according to the United States Census Bureau, the US is home to the largest number of Filipinos living abroad. There are 4 million Filipinos in the United States and 71,000 of them are in Maryland. Filipinos are the third largest Asian American subgroup behind the Chinese and the Indian Americans. Tagalog, or Filipino, is the fourth most spoken language in the US behind English, Spanish, and Chinese. There are about 2 million Filipino civilians employed over 16 years old, and 33.8% of them are in the education, services, healthcare, and social assistance. We have a Filipino class here in Baltimore. This class aims to impart the Filipino culture to the kids who were born or raised in the US. There are also other Filipino schools in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and of course, California. Now, pop culture. Do you know that Enrique Iglesias' mom is Filipino? Rob Schneider's mom is also Filipino, and as well as Vanessa Hudgens. Lea Salonga. She is a Tony Award winner, and she is the singing voice for Disney princesses Jasmine and Mulan in the Disney movies. She also played the lead role in Miss Saigon in Broadway. Apple Diab is a rapper, singer, record producer of the Black Eyed Peas and is born to a Filipino mother in the Philippines. Lou Diamond Philippines is also born to a Filipino mother in the Philippines, and Bruno Mars is also born to a Filipino mother. In sports, Doug Baldwin is a wide receiver for the NFL team Seattle Seahawks. And he has a Filipino grandmother. Jordan Clarkson is a Phil-Am NBA player, former Lakers, and traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He is born to a Filipino mother as well. And Eric Spoelstra is the head coach of the NBA team Miami Heat, also born to a Filipino mother. Now, some Filipinos here in Maryland traveled to New Jersey just to see a newly released Filipino movie. One of the most recent films shown there is by Angelica Panganiban, a Filipino-American film and television actress and comedian, and she has a special message.
Hi! Hello sa lahat ng medtechs, nurses and doctors sa Johns Hopkins Hospital. Good luck sa presentation nyo. Congratulations. And ingat kayo palagi dyan.
Got that from her. Now, well, it's about time to meet the Filipinos of pathology. But before that, someone asked me, why are there Filipino medtechs everywhere in the US? And I found the answer to that. According to the ASCP Board of Certification February 2019 newsletter, the Philippines is BOC's largest international certification market. And as of June 30, 2018, there were 10,844 first-time ASCP international examinees and 7,919 ASCP international certified individuals from the Philippines. Once we get certified, we have a bigger chance of getting hired here. And now, here are the Filipinos from Johns Hopkins Pathology. There are a total of 40 Filipinos in 6 areas of pathology. There are actually 5 in micro and 2 in immunology. There are a total of 28 in the core lab. This is the overnight shift. The overnight shift supervisor and chemistry lead are both Filipinos. This is the evening shift. One of the evening shift leads is also a Filipino. And on day shift, we have 2 Filipino technical specialists, a Filipino special chemistry lead, and a lead lab tech. There are 3 Filipinos in transfusion medicine, including the transfusion medicine fellow. Pathology IT has 1 Filipino who also works for the core lab evening shift, and the Filipino in soft who was a previous core lab overnight shift supervisor. At this point, are there any Filipinos here who would like to stand up and be recognized? As I just asked. I want to thank you for your dedication, hard work, and service to the Johns Hopkins Hospital. And on behalf of the Filipinos, I would like to thank Johns Hopkins for giving us an opportunity to work at the best hospital in the US and be able to provide for our families both here and in the Philippines. I would like to end this presentation with the official video of the Philippine Department of Tourism.
Fun. Philippine Islands. It's more fun in the Philippines. Fun in the Philippines. Philippine Islands. In the Philippines.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Ruth. Thanks everyone for coming. There's food at the back. Please help yourself. And we will have this posted to the website when John gets caught up. Thank you, everyone.